Hi everyone, this is Rob Lashley with MMORPGcom. Tonight I have with me Mike Donatelli from Carbine Studios. Go say hi, Mike.
Hello.
Mike's the content director at WildStar Online.
Design director, yeah.
Design director. I'm going to have to beat the title people. They sent me content director. So what do you do as the
design director? I pretty much oversee the content and the system design for the project. That's in a big big picture thing. I guess you could say more along the lines, I play the game a lot and give a lot of feedback that is either well or not so well received.
All right, and apparently you teach math on the side.
No, that was somebody else trying to teach me something. I don't even begin to wrap my head around a lot of this stuff.
All right, well, let's go ahead and start off with some of the questions about Closed Beta 3. Obviously, you guys put the notes out for everyone to go ahead and get a chance to read about before, I guess, the beta server actually goes back up, which I wouldn't know about because I'm not in the beta. So, when's Closed Beta? I'm not. It's all right. When's Closed Beta 3 running from?
Gosh, off the top of my head, I think it starts in. We had a build we started now. I think it's in about 2 weeks.
Okay.
I'm thinking off the top of my head. I'm kind of. That's the thing. That's the problem with it right now is I could look it up for you. I'm actually currently looking at the content for CVT4.
Oh.
So CVT3 is old news.
It's old news for you, huh?
Yeah.
All right. So as one of my friends so eloquently put this when he talked to you before, this is apparently the PvP patch. Those were some of the highlights you guys put out there. So let's go ahead and talk, I guess, first really about the big one for a lot of people, and that is that you're going to have rated battlegrounds and arenas.
Yeah. So we've been kind of sitting on this for a while. I mean, we've had the design all worked out. Our lead PvP designer has been itching to get this out in front of people. We had a really good beta. CBT2 had a lot of really good feedback, but one of the most interesting things was we had a couple people who worked the system and ended up getting into content for the opposing faction. And that brought up a lot of unforeseen issues that we needed to jump on. So when this CVT came around, we're like, we should just open up to both sides. Because in the original plan was to open up a different side, let you level up. We're going to concentrate on that. But this time we're just going to open up both sides, let any kind of natural PvP occur, and then also just kind of unleash all the new rating systems, the new brackets, the new battlegrounds. Just get it all out there and let people, just beat the hell out of each other.
So how does the open world PvP work then?
It's pretty much, like I said, we try to keep things familiar. The open PvP is literally going to be, if you want to PvP, you can flag yourself. We have PvP rule sets where it's like no holds barred, everybody's killing everybody kind of thing. But what you're going to see in CVT3 is literally just, you're going into a play space. You can easily get into the enemy's area to play, and if you find somebody that you want to fight and you guys are all flagged for it, you can fight each other. So again, we're really looking on the content side. I'm really looking to see what can be broken. We had a lot of people killing guards that were not flagged to not be killable. There was a lot of bugs that came out from the CVT2, so we kind of wanted to push the envelope in CVT3, and again, that just kind of naturally led into we should just dump all the PvP stuff we have ready into it.
So you mentioned flags. Does it kind of start off where a lot of MMOs these days kind of do, where it's safe in the earlier zones, and then as you start to get to the mid zones, you start to interweave with the opposing faction, and then by the time you reach the Elder game, I mean, it's all shared space and free-for-all PvP?
That's pretty accurate. I mean, the idea is that it's shared about, not half the game, but there's a lot of zones that are going to be safe zones where you kind of get to know the world and your character and the factions and things of that nature. Because again, we have a lot of systems. The learning curve isn't super steep, but it's definitely a little bit more than you're used to with our kind of action combat and whatnot. So yes, it's kind of that natural progression where you start to see each other in the middle zones, and then by the end of the game, the Elder game, you'll be constantly playing in and around about these guys. So it's how the natural PvP will open up. And again, we're looking at that right now to see if we need to tweak the rule set depending upon how people. If it's a good experience.
Okay. A little bit more on the PvP and in the Battlegrounds. Do you guys have like a bolstering mechanic in play to where people can go in there and be buffed up towards the top end of their bracket, or is it going to be like, I'm 11, I'm in the 11 to 20, you guys are hosed?
We're definitely bolstering. You're definitely going to go in there, and you're going to be able to compete. You won't have obviously the same abilities, the same access to passive abilities, the same access to all of your things as a higher level character would be. But a skillful player will be able to compete. We play constantly, and there's plenty of people who come in, at the lowest level of the 3 to 14 bracket and totally trounce guys that've got all the gear and all the stuff. It's just, again, it comes down to skill at that point. We're also, we bolster up, but, there's also been discussion about, what happens if I'm a higher level guy who wants to play in a lower level. We haven't got into that yet, but that is some feedback that we're getting from the forums that we're looking at maybe making an adjustment for CBT4. But right now, we have the brackets adjusted, and we just want to get people in it. And yes, you will be able to be bolstered up to the level range of the thing you're playing in.
All right, sounds great. And apparently you actually have a new Battleground as well. So in addition to scoring people, now you're going to give them a new one to play in.
Yeah, it's Halls of the Bloodsworn. It's kind of a hold the line, attack, defend style Battleground, as the patch notes do say. The idea is, I don't know if you're familiar with the it's kind of this Osen. It's got this Osen vibe. Osen being this race of these crazy super soldiers that used to, that were at one time enthralled to the Elden, who, the hyper advanced race that made their home here on Nexus, and the Elden disappeared, and the Osen were left behind, kind of to go feral. So this is actually an entire play space built around the Osen and their kind of low rent tech. So it's pretty interesting. It's a wildly different visual appeal than the Walatiki Temple, or I think it was originally called the Moody Battleground, but it's now been renamed to Walatiki Temple. So
the Moody.
Moody's being the weird little munchkin, undead raising leprechaun type guys that we have. You may or may not have seen them in that, but you definitely saw the art. It's inspired by them, and this one's inspired by the Osen.
That's great. So how many total Battlegrounds does that bring you up to in beta now, then?
I believe I want to say it's 2.
Mm-hmm.
I may be wrong, and it could be 3, but I think it's only 2 right now. We have plans for several more to be rolled out pretty much every beta. We're trying to get more and more out there, and that's just pretty much a different view. We definitely have different gameplay mechanics that are based in certain Battlegrounds, and there's some that can be, obviously, like many other games, we have certain we have certain styles of gameplay that can actually be administered to all the different kinds of Battlegrounds. So you'll see more of that coming out as we get further along in CBT.
All right. So the next thing I wanted to talk to you, and I'm kind of just going to kind of take this in order, going through the patch notes, was you talked about general changes, and next up is challenges. You mentioned that they now award experience points, coins, and reputation as each tier threshold is achieved. For those that haven't really been following along, or for those people that actually aren't in the beta yet, what are the challenges and how do they work now that we know what the rewards for them are?
So, excuse me. The challenges were very simply, we had this idea. I was sitting down talking to an artist, a guy named Max Motzenbacher, and this is years ago now, and we were talking about cool mechanics that we like in other games. We were talking about a console. I was playing a console game, he was playing a console game, and both console games did this challenge-type mechanic that was really, really fun, but it wasn't necessarily based in the lore, and the mechanics were fun, the gameplay was super fun, but it didn't really, I don't know, we debated over if we'd be able to put it into the game. And we mocked up a UI, we got it in the game, and we just started doing it. Pretty much what a challenge, and it was a lot of fun, so we kept it, but it pretty much boiled down to it's the nitty-gritty. The challenge is you're doing content, and the game challenges you. Hey, look, we know you're doing this thing. Let's say, for instance, it's killing monsters. You're killing these monsters very well. Can you kill, and the game gives you a challenge. Can you kill this many more monsters in this time frame for this reward? And if you say no, it's no big deal. It kind of just gets put into a UI, and then you can pick it up and start it at some other time. But if you accept the challenge, the game again challenges you to do a task. And for that example of the killing one, if you're challenged to kill 10 of these weird space rhino type things, and you're supposed to kill them in 2 minutes, that's a pretty tough one. We have different tiers. We have a bronze tier, a silver tier, and a gold tier. The gold tier was always meant to be done with a group. The bronze tier was fairly easy to get you into the groove for the challenge, and then the silver one was supposed to be very challenging for one, if not impossible, and maybe easier to do in a group of 2 or 3. And then when you're done, the challenge ends, it pops up a UI, you kind of spin the wheel for a reward, it goes through this entire process, and then at the end, you're kind of, we want to say gambling, but you're kind of gambling for a reward. What ended up happening, though, is a lot of people loved it, and a lot of people were doing them over and over and over and over again to get the rewards. Some of them are housing rewards, cool little housing things you can put in your house. Some of them were like bags with additional space, cool weapons items, the usual stuff, but we had a lot of people doing it, but a lot of people were saying, hey, I'm doing these things over and over and over again, and I'd like to be rewarded for completing it at all. And the whole thing was you could roll the dice and actually not, you'd always get something, but it might not exactly be enough for the time invested. So we took a look at that, and what you're looking at in CBT3 is we removed the timer because people are like, I don't want to wait 6 hours or 24 hours even to do these things. I want to do them. I want to do them how I want to do them. So it's like, okay, absolutely fine. They really, really want the reward. Let them spin these challenges up over and over again, and just do the content how they want to play it. So we were able to unlock those things. I think it's on a 30-minute timer now, and then the bronze, silver, and gold rewards are at a higher frequency. You also get XP and rep taken off of the roll and automatically given to you every time. So that, again, you can take this and you can do them however you want to do it. It still preserves the vision of it for us, which was just this fun mechanic, right? There's, taking a rocket launcher and blowing stuff up, and can you blow a lot of stuff up in 10 minutes? That's fun regardless, so it doesn't really affect...
Win, lose, or draw, you're having a good time blowing stuff up.
Yeah, and that's the interesting thing. We're talking about CBT3 patch notes right now, but I've already, like I said, we're well into CBT4 and changes we've made based on forum feedback, and we're even, I'm giving you a little sneak peek, but we're even gonna loosen it up a little bit more with challenges where, before it was like you had a bronze, a silver, or a gold tier. We're kind of taking tiers out of it in CBT4 to see how people like that, to just kind of give you, hey, you know what, if you're really, really good, you just get a better chance at the best stuff. Like, we're going to try to pull it back even a little bit further. Just we boil it down to the simplest system that was still fun and felt rewarding. And like I said again, but it's in steps. You're going to see a change in CBT3. We'll get feedback based on that, and I think we have a pretty good direction already. We're moving towards the CBT4.
All right, so being that this is an MMO, it's a very social game. The next thing I wanted to kind of talk about was some of the social systems that have gotten updated for CBT3. Finally, you can vote kick people. So, what do you guys do to make sure that this isn't, because gamers game. Like you mentioned earlier, the previous closed beta, you had people getting in and doing content that you didn't want them to do. So, for some people, playing the game the way it was intended is what's fun. For other people, trying to break the rules is what's fun. How do you make sure that people don't abuse something like a vote kick system?
Well, how about this?
Okay.
It is yet to be seen how we're going to do that, because again, we're putting it out there right now, and we're going to see how people broke it. Internally, I think we've been pretty standard as far as that's concerned. If you have, it's a vote, the majority rules. There's certain, instances where you're going to use this more often than not. Will it behoove you to do this in a dungeon in the middle of a dungeon run? Possibly. Like I said, it's yet to be determined how we're going to tweak that. This is kind of the initial system we're putting in, and again, based on feedback, and we're going to see how it works out. Like I said, it's yet to be seen.
Right.
We didn't get a lot of people tearing it up yet, but as soon as this thing hits CBT3, I'm sure I'll be able to answer your question when we sit down and talk about CBT4.
Well, it definitely appears that it's always just a part of an overall greater group finding system. So why don't we talk about that? How, for those who don't know already, how does the group finder work in WildStar, and what all, besides maybe just instances, can you find groups? through
Well,
the tool for?
Well, we wanted to make sure we had the group finding tool because people, again, we're making an MMO, and one thing I think is a strength of ours is that we will seem familiar at a lot of turns. People will be like, oh, you know what, I play this popular MMO, and they have a group finder. And we just wanted to make sure that we have access, give people access to that tool so that they can, if they want to level up through group play, you can do it. You can find dungeons in group play. You can unlock Battlegrounds, or I'm sorry, group play in Group Finder. You can unlock Battlegrounds in Group Finder. We actually have another kind of group-oriented, very strategic, group-oriented, how can I put this without letting out of the bag, which I can't talk about, but it's kind of another thing that you can find in Group Finder that's group-oriented, that's very strategic, and it's like an encounter thing that players can do together, and all those things can be unlocked in the Group Finder, but we still want to preserve some of the exploration of the Group Finder, so the idea is that you will be able to go in and unlock. If you find a place in the world that you can unlock, then that thing will automatically be added to your Group Finder. We wanted to preserve some of the exploration, some of that, because I think that's very strong in our game, where, it's not like you're just going to hop on a thing and fly to a place. You have to kind of go out there and find that stuff out. But yeah, so what I can talk about is we have group-oriented stuff that you can find that isn't dungeons, and we also have PvP stuff, Battlegrounds, all that stuff that can all be accessed from the Group Finder. What you're seeing it in CVT3 is probably mostly just completely unlocked where everybody can test everything, because what we want to do is make sure we're testing the queue time and make sure that we get people in there and see what we're going to have to do to make sure that it is a tool that can be utilized in beta, but that it really kind of takes off when we get it to launch.
Do you plan on incentivizing the tool anyways to encourage people to actually use it to go do content?
Well, I mean, I don't currently I do not believe there is a plan in place to make it any more. It's just kind of, we do a lot of things that make it easier on the player, right? It's definitely something that is for ease of use, but we don't really look. I don't believe at this time we're looking to make it any better if you use the Group Finder. And we only wanted to limit it to Group Finder. We're never going to do Raid Finder or anything like this. This was literally just, we have a lot of social systems in place. We do a lot of things to try to soft group you together without, soft grouping. One of the social features we added this time is this, it's suggested friends. So if you're playing with players in a pug and you're like, oh, that was a good time, and you leave the group and you go your merry way, they go their merry way, the game will actually say, hey, you know what, you played with this person, did you like them? Do you want to friend them? Do you want to ask them to join your group? Like, it's a very soft system, but it's a way that we're trying to incentivize people to play together. It's that kind of camaraderie and sense of community that I miss from playing MMOs back in their inception, and I think we can do it, but we just can't, we can't twist the player's arm about it. We kind of have to do it soft, and that's kind of what the group finders do. We want it to be there. We want you to utilize it, but we want, it's definitely opt-in. It's not going to be any better for you for using Group Finder than just to go out and start a group. It's not like that. It's just, it is a social tool to try to get people to, form relationships.
Awesome. And I'm going to remember you said that. No Raid Finder. Right here.
No Raid Finder.
6/27/2013,
Put it
520.
down right now. I've said
Mike,
it before. I'll say it
no
again.
Raid Finder.
No Raid Finder.
All right. So let's keep on with the social systems. Friends list. Hey, we get a friends list. But more interesting enough, the friends list notes specifically states that you have to have acceptance from the other person.
Yep.
You also have a rivals list. That doesn't say that you have to have acceptance from the other person.
Nope.
Is that limited to a certain amount of people? Because what's going to prevent me from saying, oh, everybody that I've ever seen on the other side's a rival, and I'm going to track y'all?
Obviously, there's only so much memory that exists, so you're going to...
Elephants never forget.
Yeah. There'll be a cap.
Okay.
Again, yet to be determined. We'll see through testing. But there'll be a cap. But, yeah, we wanted to be able to make sure... It's just, again, it's another social system. Many, I'm sure you have family. Everybody's got family, and there's certain people in your family, like your weird Uncle Bill, that you don't really want to be around, and, just put him as a rival. You'll always know where he's at. You can always avoid him if you want. If you're a crafter and you got another crafter in the area, and you're like, that guy, he sells the same stuff I am. I'm trying to sell this stuff. I don't want that guy. I don't want to be around that guy. If you turn around, my lights just went off.
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
Hold on.
Having a power outage, California.
That's one of those weird.
Time sensitive.
It's light sensitive, but I share an office with our creative director Matt McCarskey, and he's got this big ass monitor sitting in front of it, so it doesn't register that I'm in the room. Anyway, after that, a little bit of minutia. So the idea being that, if maybe it's somebody on your own team that you don't want, maybe it's somebody in that big, massive 40v40 war plot dealio that you're like, I hate that guy, he keeps killing me, I don't care if we win or lose, I will murder that guy in his face. And then, flag him, and you'll be able to see him every time you log in, and you're in, PvP in together, you'll see them. It's just, like I said, again, it was something that players requested, and, if it's something that players requested and, it's a cool idea, we try very, very hard to incorporate it into the game.
Okay, here's something that actually falls in the social system that I kind of wanted to ask you about. I thought it was kind of interesting. It seems like a sync, but players can now choose between sending messages that will arrive instantly in an hour or the next day. I mean, come on, next day mail in a video game? Really? We don't have better logistics than that by this point?
Again, TBD. Everything can change. That's why it's a closed beta. No, there are some rules in place. Now, again, it's in this day and age, especially in a game that is kind of trotting a line between kind of futuristic, cowboy sci-fi western kind of thing going on. We want you to be able to, you're going to send a mail to your friend. Again, you could send them a message. You could chat with them. There's a million different kinds of chats. But if you want to send them a mail anywhere in the world, you can go ahead and do that. But then there is the idea that we turn around and say, if you want to send an item or something of that nature, you need to be near a mailbox, because things, you need to send things. You need to be near a mailbox. But you can send money and all kinds of things through just regular old mail. This was something that was added to, this was something that was added in the CBT, and we'll see if it holds weight. A game has to have its number of syncs, but we don't want to turn around and do that to just, punch a player in the face and say, now you got to wait a whole day to send your mail. Ultimately, it's going to be a cost thing. I'm not going to say it's going to be free, but, you might be able to send mail for free if you just say, I don't care about it till tomorrow, but if I want to send it instantly, then I pay the full price of what it was.
I get the tiers. I get the, if you want to send it right away, we're going to charge you a little more, take some out of the economy. It makes sense. And I get the, it's going to arrive in an hour. But I get the, you know what? We're going to have to wait till tomorrow for you to get that one because you're just cheap.
That's the free one. The mailbot delivery guy is going to run up there and throw mail at you, and it's going to be very funny. Like I said, there's some plans behind
There you go, cheap.
Yeah, and there's definitely a comedy. Again, we try to infuse the WildStar type personality and everything.
Everybody just looks at the recipient and it's like, you got cheap friends, man.
Well, not only that,
but the bot drives by him with his mail, throws it out the window.
Well, that's the thing is, you're hitting it real close to where we are. Whereas there are certain aspects of the day-to-day, the mail system, the training system, all these systems that you see every day that inevitably in a lot of MMOs don't have a lot of personality, but we have endeavored to infuse those things with personality, which could very well play into the reasoning behind why this has occurred. Mm-hmm. You're just not seeing that part yet. If I can be any more vague than that, I don't know if I can. But there is some comedy, some very big WildStar-style personality tied to this system that you won't see yet in the game.
I'll take your word on it. And
now,
on that, you mentioned family earlier. When we were talking about the rival system, and I think this kind of applies to the next one, housing. We got neighbors, and I think there was one that was roommate. So I guess they're not family. They're just your roommate. So what's a neighbor and what's a roommate?
So, again, we try to focus on, we have the idea of, guilds and, groups and all these people having this housing experience together, but that was one of the initial designs, and it's very strong, and we know what that is and where it falls in our game. However, the first order of business was to make sure that the solo player experience was completely, locked down. So a player gets a house, word go, free of charge. As soon as you log into the game, pretty much you can get a house. and you spend a large part of your career collecting things, and there's stuff that conveys rest XP and portals and all kinds of cool stuff that affects your character for housing. That being said, your house is your this plot of land is torn up out of the ground. It's your own instance. There's content that happens on a crafting. There's all this great stuff, and you have neighbors. You pretty much, it's the same thing. You know, you have your circles of friends. You have your neighbors who can come and go and visit your plot whenever they want. There's things on your plot that don't need, but if your friend happens to be by your plot and they want to, you know, help your garden along, they can do that. If they want to clear out some crazy space pirates that sidle up against your floating thing and try to, you know, steal your mine, your gold out of your mine, that they can jump over there and fight them. And then you have, and so that's neighbors who can help each other, who have access to each other's plots. But the roommates is more of a person, hey, you want one of your neighbors to share permissions to be able to put a thing up, or you know, or take away a plug, or decorate, or any of that stuff. If you want to be the interior decorator of WildStar and you're well known and everybody wants you to be their roommate to come and decorate their house, that it gives you the option. Again, a lot of this stuff is based on player feedback, and if it's a good idea, people like it, and we're doing it.
I want a garden gnome that screams, "Get off my lawn!"
It's very possibly already a thing.
It would make sense.
It would make sense.
All right, let's hop down here to the economy. We kind of lightly talked about crafting earlier, but again, for the people that haven't been paying attention, how important and integral is crafting to the WildStar overall?
Okay, crafting.
Because we know it's part of the housing system. You know,
there are many crafts that tie into housing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, again, in the original design, inevitably, because of the way we have a lot of crafting professions, and inevitably it started to turn into, well, if this craft can make these cool things for housing, what can this craft make for housing? And then it's kind of ballooned up. So a lot of the crafts actually feed into housing. You get these kits that you can collect the items and then take them to a guy, and he can build them. You can build them yourself. I would say it's completely integral to the process, because we allow you to do a certain amount of crafting of every single crafting skill before level 10. That way you can try, because nobody hates more than picking the wrong craft, and then you're like, oh, I hate this thing after, you know, you spent, you know, half of your money in 20 levels working on it. So we allow you to access the whole first tier of crafting, so you can try all the different crafts out before you decide which one you really like, and then it gets very specialized after that. So I would say we spend a great deal of time on our crafting system, and we try. And again, it's familiar. You'll know it. You're like, oh, that's again. I don't know what crafts we've talked about, but I'll just say I'm going to make up crafts now. You know, there's the armor smith, and there's these things that will ring familiar, but you know, we try to do our own spin on it. It's familiar, but there's an interesting mechanic on how you craft. And yeah, again, I would say that it is very, very important to us. Important to enough that we have a very large team dedicated to work on the crafting. We wanted to make sure that crafters are, you know, known. Oh, that's the guy. I bought an item off the auction house. It's got that crafter's name on it. The guy makes all these things. Maybe I'll just send that guy a message and say, hey, can you make me 60 more of these things, right? The reason why we do that is because, again, it ties back to the social aspect of the game, where we want people, you know, we want to encourage you to, you know, make those friends, form those relationships that really makes a game fun. You know, that I've played plenty of MMOs, and you know, if you get into an MMO and you're playing it and nobody's talking to you and you're running around by yourself, that's not much of an MMO. So
no.
We're definitely trying in every aspect of it, even in the economy side of it and the econ side, to create systems that really, really have a social basis.
All right. I noticed that you put in a system to allow players to trade in their trade skills and not just like abandon and pick up a new one. I'm assuming from the wording and the way that it was written that you could actually, like, say you were an armor smith. You're like, you know what? I ain't got nothing to do today. Let me put that one in and take a new one and work on that. And then when it's said and done, I could trade back and get my armor smith back and it not be reset to 0. Did I read that right, or am
I would say you read that correctly, but again, it goes back to the the amount of we want to make sure everyone can play the way they want to play. That's a mantra for us. But again, there's the level of fairness there, right?
Mm-hmm.
A guy who has spent all this time becoming the best armorsmith on the server, who can make all these crazy things that nobody else can, it wouldn't be fair to him for someone else to go, you know what, I don't want to be a weaponsmith today. Today I'm going to be the best armorsmith in the whole wide world, and I'm just going to swap my points over. So just so you know, there may be a penalty incurred by just willy-nilly flip-flopping back and forth, but we did want to give you the option where you don't just lose every bit of the experience that you have in that, if you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you did spend a lot of time and effort working on that. We will make sure you enjoy that. But, again, we also need to make sure, and it's a balance thing at that point. So, yes, you will be able to trade in your stuff, but much like when you trade in a car, you're not going to get the exact same amount of money as you bought it for.
That's no fun.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. We should get the same amount of money we bought it for.
I know, right? So, okay, let's talk about the combat, the limited action set. You expanded it from 8 up from 7. So the limited action set is becoming less limited.
Well,
so it's the less limited action system. What drove that change, and could we see that grow even more? Or, I mean, obviously there was a design philosophy to have a limited action set and not have all these abilities available to begin with.
So there was a design philosophy there, and we wanted, again, so that when a player makes a choice, again, it's not just, I'm going to press, from the word go, it was never going to be, I have a rotation of 25 things, and I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 6, right? We never wanted to be that kind of game. So the limited action set made you really choose what skills you were going to have, and how you're going to use them. The way I play the warrior that I play as compared to what one of the guys on the combat team is wildly different. I load up like one builder and every single crowd control thing I can get a hold of, and I don't do a whole ton of damage, and I'm not very tanky. I can get burned down pretty good, but I want to be the first one to leap in there and kind of control, kind of be like a battlefield commander. Like I'm trying to kick their.
You're trying to shape the battlefield.
Yeah, kick their healer out of range of all the rest of it, because it's all skill shots. So if a healer wants to line up a skill shot and he's about to, drop this massive heal that's going to heal like 3 of the 5 guys on his team, I want to kick that guy out of his zone and then start chasing it. Like, there's a different mechanic. Some of the guys want to be tanks. Some of the guys want to do pure DPS. Some of the guys want to mix it up, utility, a lot of utility stuff. A lot of our classes have utility spells that other classes have. So again, limiting me to 6 means that I have a role, and that role is one that I determined. Now, through feedback and playing the game, 6 to 7 and now 7 to 8. 8 is pretty much, I think, the window we're going to go with. 8 is comfortable. It gives me a little bit more utility if I want to throw a little more DPS out or have a little bit more survivability. I'm still going to roll with my kind of battlefield commander build, which again is never going to be as good at DPS or tanking as somebody else, but it is viable. I've played it tons and tons of times in our Battlegrounds, and it's completely viable. It's just that it does make me choose. It doesn't mean I get to do all of the things, but I think that if you were able to do all the things, then all the things don't really matter that much. It's much more in your face of a decision, and we wanted to stick to that. So we went from 7 to 8, but I'm pretty sure 8's where we're going to stick. We do have some path abilities and some other things that will be unlocked on your bar, but none that are. I think 8's going to be pretty much the full boat for our combat system moving forward to launch.
All right. It also looks like you guys are contemplating the idea of keeping in out-of-combat resing for every class and taking the res ability off the bar for the classes that already had it.
We are exploring the idea. Again, we have a lot of...
I think it's a good idea.
Well, some people look at our classes and they go, well, who's the healer, right?
Yeah.
And they start talking about it. Look, the Spell Slinger can heal, and wait, the Esper can heal. And so it's very much... They heal in totally different ways, but it does take something out of the mix of... if you don't have a healer, you can't play. Or if it just takes something out of the... We feel like it puts something out of the way for us. It's like this was a thing, and now it's no longer a thing, so now we're just going to try to balance the classes with their abilities to play the game. But again, it's TBD. We're trying it. We're going to see how players like it. We think they will. There are a lot of good feedback on the forums about it. But we'll see how it goes.
All right. The next big chunk of notes that you guys had was really just different tweaks to the classes. In your opinion, what's been one of the harder, but maybe more challenging and more rewarding classes to work on?
I would say, honestly, probably the Slinger, just because that's the one that had the biggest swing in design. When we initially put the classes out, the Slinger was this very static, medium range shooter type that turned into this super high, throughout CBT through CBT, to this very long-range sniper thing that, because of player feedback, turned into a little bit more run and gun, a little bit more movement-based. We have a completely movement-based combat, but a lot of his abilities locked him down and he couldn't move. And we've tweaked it at every turn based on, our playthroughs and community feedback. So that's the one I seem to think has had the most a warrior, even though we do our own take on it, it's a sci-fi warrior with a chainsaw and a flamethrower and all this other crazy nonsense, laser whips and all this low-tech stuff. It's still in its, down to the nitty-gritty. It's got a familiar beat to it. He's got some kind of, this weird electronic sword, and, he gets in there. He does a lot of AoEs, a lot of stuns. He has a vibe to him, and we've pretty much adhered to that vibe. But the Slinger has had a lot of movement. So I think that one's been the most challenging, but I think that it's also been the most rewarding because I like a lot where it's actually what it's turned into today.
Awesome. I want to kind of break our train of thought there for 1 second. I just want to let the chat room and the viewers know that I've been trying for the last 40 minutes to get chat to load, and I've been unsuccessful. I do apologize. But if you want to submit questions to me for a chance to be answered in the last 5 or 10 minutes, you could tweet them at me would be the best way to get them to me. It's at Grakulen, Grakulen. So if you've got a question, just tweet it to me, and I'll look at those in the last few minutes. But I can't see anything in chat. I do apologize.
And I'll do like a FAQ here of, I can't talk about the business model. I can't talk about the exact launch day.
Can you give us a quarter? Is it this year?
Out of my pay grade.
Next generation consoles?
I got. You know what? I've talked about it. I've said that'd be an interesting place to go. But honestly, I like my console. It's kind of like my chocolate, my peanut butter.
Mm-hmm.
I do like my consoles for a certain amount of things. That's an asshole reference. I don't know if anybody's gonna get it, but the point being, though, is I think the consoles have a place, but I really kind of dig the PC for this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
PCs are more powerful. PCs allow you to do a lot of things. So I'm a PC guy at heart. So I don't see us, I don't think that's not the plan today. But
that was more than we got out of you about that than I thought we would. So we appreciate it.
I mean, it's the realistic part, right? It's like I can tell you right now, we don't have a team of console guys slaving away on it right now. So if that gives you any kind of, it's very easy for somebody to say, you know what, we're going to launch on everything, and then you're like, is that actually even happening? I can say it right now, and it wouldn't necessarily be true, but.
So what he's saying is keep an eye on the jobs page, and if you start seeing next generation console designer / programmer, then you might have a clue. If not, don't worry about it.
Well, you would be surprised at how true that's a truism right there, because you want to look at you look at their webpage to see what they're hiring, and that's generally you can pretty much suss out what they're doing.
Yeah. So PvP Prestige. The WildStar PvP currency has been added in.
Yes.
How is that? Is it like a point? Is it a coin? Do I buy better PvP gear with it? What all does Prestige do for me?
Prestige is our PvP currency. It allows us to do, one of the things that we've always talked about and we want to make sure that we were delivering on was saying, you know what, I got through the tutorial, I got through the first, 6 levels or so of the game. I don't ever want to play another piece of content again. All I want to do is kill people. Real live people. Not like Dexter style, but,
Yeah,
okay.
We got you.
And,
Hannibal style.
Yeah. So we want to make sure that you could level up through it and that you could gain your path stuff through it. You could gain your so we have path style content in the PvP stuff, but we want to make sure that you could gear up and you could level and you could compete with anybody doing PvE, right? We don't want to turn around and say, oh, to PvP, you must PvE, or if you want to get into this thing for PvE, you have to go into the PvP thing and do it. We hope you'll try it. We have a lot of systems, social systems, again, that encourage you to try different things, especially tied to your housing plots. But we wanted to make sure that there was a currency in-game that a player could be like, I have PvP currency, I'm going to go buy my PvP gear. So it's definitely, we wanted to make sure that we were delivering on the promise that you could level through PvP, which is not as easy as it sounds.
All right. Let's go back to the PvE part of the game. Added in the new moon. Not a silly Twilight movie, actually, but it was a new zone Farside, which is an off-planet moon, which I guess most moons would be off-planet, wouldn't they?
Kind of.
Yeah. I think it's part of the definition. All right. What can the players expect to see there? What kind of atmosphere as opposed to?
Well, to be honest with you, what we try to do is we talked about wanting to kind of change it up a bit, right? You've been on the planet. I think, off the top of my head, I may be confusing Farside and a different moon, but I'm pretty sure Farside's in the 20-ish range, mid-20s, late 20s, and the idea being that, you've been on the surface of the planet for a while, you've been inside the planet, inside ancient Elden, exolabs, like trying to explore the world itself. So we talked about going into space because it allows us to do a lot of interesting things. We have the action-based combat, but then when you go to a planetoid or a moon or an asteroid or a space station or whatever, some of them don't have atmosphere, and some of them so you might have a mask that you have to use to breathe, and some of them have low gravity, so you're jumping around and it changes the whole. We wanted to do it, and we're like, you're going to do low gravity, but because it's going to be very cool. But then what that instantly turned into is, how do you do a jump puzzle in space? We do double jump, we do dashing, we do a lot of jump, a lot of console style button mashing stuff. And now you get into space, and you're like, now we got to do it like 10 times bigger, right? It's got to be bigger, and then it's like combat's different. So now you're not just double jumping to get outside of somebody's telegraph, you're double jumping over them in some kind of slow motion gun kata stuff where you're, leaping over them, and it really brings the third dimension into play. A lot of vertical space, a lot of vertical combat. So it's definitely been trying, but it's definitely something we wanted to do from the word go. Because it is a sci-fi game, so there's spaceships, and you get to go on ship hand missions and go to places off the planet. So. This is kind of I believe this is the first time anyone's really going to get to go off the planet and check out our vision, or WildStar's vision for space.
Awesome. Any new dungeons added with the CBT, or that we can see in CBT4?
What? Well, CBT4. See, you almost got me on that one. I was about to blurt out CBT4. CBT3 has a new dungeon called Skull Kano. And it pretty much is summed up exactly how it sounds. There's this giant volcano. It's kind of got this pirate vibe to it. There's like a skull carved into the surface of it, spewing out molten lava. And the idea being that these space pirates from the Halon Ring came down to the Elden homeworld. The Elden disappeared, so everybody's kind of sacking it and all this other stuff. So they came down. They found this old terraformer that the Elden were using to terraform these islands, this island chain, and proceed to use it and utilize it to turn lava into molten gold. The problem comes into play where is that they then are starting to round up the inhabitants of the island and boil them alive in gold to make gold statues out of them. And you're enlisted to help them out, and you go on a merry adventure in this gold-encrusted volcano. It's pretty sweet.
I'm definitely looking forward to that one. Let's go ahead, and at this point, I'm really going to go to questions that we had our readers ask us on the website.
Okay.
First one we already talked about was the next generation consoles. Okay, here's a really good one. How long in the development of the game, what is your guys' vision for a new character to take and just at a normal pace go from level 1 to level cap?
Okay, that one I can talk about. So I'll go out on a limb here, as I do pretty much regularly. I'll go out on a limb here and say that if you're going to design a game with an amount of hours in mind, if you're going to turn around and say, look, we need to have a game that lasts 300 hours, I think that's a terrible way to design a game. a lot of people do it, and I totally disagree with it because, you know, they're not trying to find the fun in the game. They're trying to find, if we charge you X amount of money every month and it takes an average player this many months, we'll make this much money. And I think that's just a really a terrible way to design. So we designed it a little bit different than that. We didn't go long so much. I could draw it on the board better, but we went more wide.
We can see it pretty good if you want to.
I think I will. Hold on. Let me see if I can do this. All right.
I can hear you.
All right. Well, let's do this then.
We got some show and tell going on now.
It wasn't that important anyway. So pretty much is you can turn around and say, I'm going to start here. Well, this marker sucks. I'm going to start here, and I'm going to work my way through the entire game. We're going to say it takes, you know, whatever. Let's say that 300 hours thing I talked about. We didn't design it like that. We designed it like, oh shit. We designed it like this, and then it goes like this. So in those games, they're just, you know, they're dragging it out, saying this is what we want you to do. Well, we've turned around and done this. There's plenty of content. I mean, there's tons of content. If you want to spend all your time exploring everything and finding every tiny little aspect and finding all the lore and all the unlocks and all the hidden content and all that stuff, it could take you hundreds of hours to finish the game. But what I've said before, and I'll say it, you know, again, much to everyone's chagrin, is I don't care if you play the game and beat it in 40 hours. I really don't. I don't give a shit. The whole point of it is I want you to walk away from the game going, that was the most fun I've ever had in an MMO. And the whole idea for us is we base a lot of our design on how all these systems in the game scale into the Elder game. So a lot of MMOs, you know, like, oh, we've got end game, but we don't even call it the end game because it doesn't end there. You know, the 40-man raids, the 80-man war plot stuff, we have enormous continents of content after the fact that are all based on, you know, faction-based PvE content. We have solo story instances every 28 days coming out to further push the story along. Like we spent a lot. We have a lot of design people working on content that we plan on releasing every month after Cap, because, you know, that's part of the deal. You know, we want you to be engaged. We want you to be like, I'm going to go play this game, not because the only thing I have left to do is join my guild and just grind on the same dungeon 1,000 times to get that next piece of gear. We want there to be content for everybody at Cap moving forward. So even though that was kind of a long-winded answer to that question, there are hundreds of hours of gameplay in our game. But I'm just not even concerned at how long it's going to take someone to beat it. Somebody who's going to hotbox it and they're going to get done in 20 hours, and good for them. There's plenty of content to do after that. People won't be incented to leave at the end. Okay,
what's the your dynamic events? How are you handling those and scaling for area population?
We have we call them adaptive creatures, which just means that we have dynamic events throughout the game. We have public events where people just go in there and they join up, and their level of participation pretty much determines what their reward is. But we wanted to make sure that it wasn't going to be just some kind of easy thing where 40 dudes run into a thing and just kind of burn something down. We wanted to make sure that there would be, you know, that because we have telegraphs, an entire system of armor that you have to break through on creatures, and it's very interesting, and we wanted to make sure that it was never going to be made uninteresting by someone just rolling over it with 50 guys. So we have adaptive creatures in a lot of our public events that adapt to the number and level of the people that are fighting it, as well as each wave of these public events, each wave of these holdouts are tuned to how many players are actually adding to the grand total of contribution to the thing. So each individual event actually scales to the number of people and what they're doing in the play space.
Is there a sidekicking mechanic that goes along with that? Like, let's say that I'm in there, I'm a level 20, and some level 50s or whatever reason, they're in there, and they're like, hey, I'm going to come here, I'll help you out. They can maybe sidekick down to the appropriate level range and then be rewarded based upon what their actual level is for helping these lower level people?
Well, I don't even have to answer you. You've answered the question completely. Yes, everything you just said we have. We call it mentoring. If you're level 50 and your buddy's level 3 and you want to mentor down and hang out with them, you guys can both you can make him into your circle of friends. You're gaining circle influence. You know, you can put him in your friends list. You gain additional housing stuff. You turn around and then you go down with him and you're mentoring, so you're getting XP as if you were going to get it at level 50, but XP, we're capped at level 50, so XP turns into this other currency at the end, but we won't get into that. And then,
we can if you want. I got time.
No. I've said too much, but, you know. But the idea being is we want you to mentor, we want you to play with your friends, and we want you to have the option, though, to turn around and say, hey, look, today I'm gonna go into your zone, and I'm going to help you do the content. I'm going to enjoy the content again. I'm going to have a good time. I'm being rewarded. You're being rewarded again, because it's not about, you know, almost said a bad word. It's not about blocking you from having fun because we have some kind of demented need. I mean, we want to make money, of course, but, you know, we don't want to screw you. So have a good time. Have a good time with your friends. And if you want to go back, remember, I mean, it's one of our favorite things or one of the things that I've talked about a lot is you go through a zone, you get your ass beat by something, and you're like, I'm going back, and when I'm 10 levels higher, I'm going to destroy that monster.
Yes.
So we wanted to preserve the ability to do that. So if you're level 50, you want to go down there and just stomp mud holes all over the place, go ahead.
Yes,
if you want to join up with your friend and run around with your friend, you will be mentored down to his, you will mentor him. You'll have all your abilities and your gear and all that stuff, so you'll have an edge for sure, but we want to make sure that you could actually play and enjoy the content at the level that it's appropriate.
It's frustrating at times when you spent so much, you know, investment in your character to make this powerful person that's a level that's above the zone that you're in, and then you go to the zone and you don't get to feel powerful because you're now all of a sudden the same level automatically without having that choice.
It has there's a cost benefit analysis to be done there. You know what I mean? It's a different kind of game. Again, we try to stay with the familiar and then make sure that we had I feel like the cutting edge stuff. So you're like, yeah, okay, I want to play with my friend, but I can't. So no, you absolutely can. I can't stress enough our need to make our game kind of a social one-stop shop, right? I'm going to go there, I'm going to hang out with my friends, I'm being rewarded for being with my friends and playing with my friends and building those relationships. Some of the best ties I have in real life came from some of those people that I played, you know, EQ with, you know, some of those guys that you really just, you know, there was a need, right? And we want to make sure that we preserve the need for people to group together and to incentivize them to do it in a way that isn't kind of face-punching.
You mentioned circles as part of the social aspect of the game. Can you explain more precisely what a circle actually is and how you gain influence on that?
Well, circles, actually, I may have misspoken on that. Circles, so I'll go into the circle guild thing. Okay. Circles were our original thing. You get into game level 1 and you can make a circle, which just means that it's a circle of friends. You know, you can have one circle that's these 5 guys are my work friends, and these 5 guys are my game friends, and these 5 guys are people that I pretend to like, but, you know, they're going to be a circle and they don't know it. And, you know, you do all these things and you have, it was a management tool to manage social circles. And, you know, what used to happen is you did your circle stuff, you gained influence, and with all that influence, you were able to then eventually make a guild. In CBT3, I believe it's been changed due to player feedback, where people are like, people inevitably want to make guilds, right? It's a thing. I just wanted to make sure that a guild meant something. You know, that it wasn't just a bunch of guys throwing some money down and then running away. And, you know, I wanted it to be impactful. I wanted it to be that a guild leader was important. And what it's done is the onus has been pushed more towards the guild. So the circles is pretty much a way to chat with different groups of people, find them on the map, do kind of thing. It's definitely a ease of use system. And then we turned most of those other things that circles used to do, gaining the influence, all that stuff, into the guilds. So that once you start a guild, if you want to upgrade your guild and have more people in it, if you want to upgrade your guild and have more guild amenities, again, I don't want to let anything in the bag, that you could do it by playing with your friends in your circles, that you could play, if you're playing with your friends in your circles and you're playing with friends in guilds and you're doing content together and you're doing it as a guild, that you will gain guild, the word is influence, but I'm not exactly sure if that's what the forward-facing word is.
Okay.
But you gain influence in your guild, and your guild is building up, and now it's like, hey, we just unlocked this new thing. We can add 10 more guild members. So it's not just whoever has the most people slapped into a thing will be, the most powerful guild. It's just that guild leaders who actively want to recruit and, say, hey, tonight is, tonight's, level noob night where we all go out there and level together and we'll mentor down to them. While you're mentoring, you gain additional guild influence. So there's all these tools to make guilds important, and again, that was the goal. Feedback was that they wanted to get guilds faster, and there's a certain positive to that where you're developing your footprint, your guild tavern standards, so I can understand that, and that's why we made the change from circles building up that influence to putting most of the onus on it into guilds. But yeah,
okay.
I was diving right into my spiel from CBT2.
What about the spiel from CBT4?
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of which, communication, socializing, cross-faction, will they be able to talk? Can I antagonize my rival if he's cross-faction? They'd be like, bring it.
I'm gonna say absolutely positively not. No, because inevitably, I like the feeling, and believe me, this is a point I can tell you all right now. This is a hot topic. It's a hot button topic. It's a point of contention. Everyone is talking about it. But as far as I'm concerned, having the final say on it, I'm saying absolutely not, because I just like the idea. A Granok would not necessarily talk to a Chua. There's a level of hate there, and I want to keep that. I like to have that idea where he's the boogeyman. You see a Granok, you instantly crap your pants and you jump into your attack state and you dive right in, because that's he's the enemy, right? And what I don't want to do is I'm the role-playing kind Granok who loves all Chua. I like the idea of there being these factions and that mean something. Now, that being said, if you have concerns about it, get on the forums. Let's talk about it. We're all adults here. If we're making a game we're making a game we want to play, but we want to make sure that you guys want to play it too. So if that is something that we talk a lot about, it's definitely still on the table, even though I would prefer not to.
All right. One of the players asked in regards to the rival system in PvP, HCS's war trophies, collecting niggers, anything like that off of other dead players' bodies?
To be quite honest with you, yes. The first thing you're going to see is the rivals, and then as we go further and further into CBT, you're going to see additional. Because again, guilds like right now in CBT3, guilds are pretty much bare bones.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have a ton of their, the upgrade systems involved. So look at this the same way. The rival systems first, and then those things that you could conceivably tie to rivals would definitely be. Ultimately, I would love to be able to mount their head on the wall, and we have a housing team and a housing system that could possibly do that. So
yeah, you could.
Stay tuned.
Ear necklaces. You got crafting.
Exactly.
People got ears. How many planned betas do you guys have? Just out of curiosity, because we obviously know there's a CBT4, but can you talk about that at all? What kind of not necessarily the release window, but what we can kind of see on the timeline on the horizon?
Well, that's the thing, right? It's hard to say. It really is hard to say because, jokingly they refer to me as the beta pope because I have to play pretty much every lick of content in every way, shape, or form. But as pope, I have a lot of magic powers, and one of the magic powers I have is to stop beta. So the first CBT, to be quite honest with you, was going to roll out about 2 weeks earlier than it was, but there were some issues that I felt needed to be handled before we went and put it in front of people, best foot forward kind of stuff. And that's what I'm saying is there's a lot of wiggle room. We get a CBT build, we put it into QA, QA shakes the crap out of it for a couple weeks, and then we get it out in front of all the players. But if these things are kind of fluid, if we feel that there's something going on that's a real problem, we might push beta 2 weeks here, or pull it, or maybe even go earlier. So it's just really hard to say how many betas will actually be in before we launch. But we've got, I can say we have more.
Right. One of the things we didn't talk about, even though we've been talking about beta this entire time, is how can people get into your beta?
Honestly, I have absolutely no idea how that works. It's kind of, again, it's you know, there's a magician somewhere that makes that happen. Now, Troy Hewitt, David Bass, our community folks, they hold a very tight reins on that process. So I would say email.
I mean for like everybody that's watching, not me. I mean for everybody else that's not. I was looking for go to your website. You have somewhere to sign up for the beta maybe or something like that.
Go to www.carbinestudios.com.
Do that one right by you. It was so soft you couldn't hold on to it.
Yeah, I thought you were coming at me from the beginning, like, hey, bro, why am I not in the beta?
No. Man, don't worry about it. No. I mean, for everybody else out here, all 830 people that are watching right now, how do they try to get into the beta?
That's a lot of people.
Yeah, and none of them can ask any questions because damn chat's down.
Well, I would say definitely go to our website. Let's see if well, that's right. You said there's no, we don't necessarily have.
I can't get in chat, but maybe you can load it. Some people are probably in there like, why is this bald guy not looking at my questions?
It's go to www.wildstar-online.com. We got a lot of great information there. Sign up for the beta right there on the front page.
Right, you heard it here first, folks. Anything else? I'd love to say, hey, chat room, any questions, but I can't do that.
Well, if you do have any questions or anything you want to talk about, again, Troy Hewitt, our community manager, who's staring at me.
Probably don't want to give his email out right now.
Director. Well, what I call you?
Manager.
He's the community director.
Maybe now you do want to give his email out after he corrected you on a live stream.
I'll let him leave the room first before I do that.
I understand. You're doing a really good job, Mike.
Am I for real? Is
Yeah.
it actually happening? I didn't know what's going on.
Everyone was really pleased.
Oh, good.
They were happy to hear about the confirmation of Pope magic. That's nice.
Pope magic? Well, I mean, come on. I'm the Pope. I have magic. Pope magic. See, I'm going to get a lot of shit for this. All right, anyway, so yeah, anytime you guys want to do this again, I'm at your beck and call.
Sounds great. I'm thinking probably in a couple weeks, hopefully when chat is working and you guys are ready to talk about CBT4.
Oh, you guys, I'm telling you right now, if take a look at this patch notes for CBT3, and the stuff for CBT4 dwarfs it in comparison.
That's some big patch notes. So I think that I'm looking at, what it was, like 9 pages of notes for CBT3.
And I don't mean dwarfs it, honestly, in the amount of stuff, but just pretty much, and to just give you the briefest preview of it, if this was the PvP one, the next one is the player feedback one. When we say that we're listening as devs, we're not bullshitting you. We do listen, and we've made I would say, a host of sweeping changes that players have been clamoring for, and again, we're always moving in that direction, so I think CBT4 is going to be a slam dunk. I'm really interested to see, because the systems that are in CBT3 that we've changed, they still need a little bit of feedback, but we've got a lot of strong feedback for the systems that are to be changed in CBT4, and I think that that's going to be a big deal.
Straight talk from Mike Donatelli. CBT4, the creature feature player comfort. Post-beta test. So, all right, Mike, thanks for your time. I appreciate it. And like I said, I'll take you up on that offer. We'll try to set something up for a few weeks out from here when you guys got more to talk about. For everybody that's watching, thanks for your time. We appreciate you stopping by. Make sure you follow the channel. Make sure you check out MMORPG.com. If you were not able to see this interview in its entirety, as soon as we get done talking, I'm going to upload it to our YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/MMORPGcom. Also, feel free to follow me on Twitter or tweet me at Draculan with any follow-up questions, and I can shoot them over to Mike, and maybe we can get them answered for you, and I'll put them out on our website at a future date, and by that I mean probably tomorrow or Monday. So,
absolutely.
Everybody, appreciate it. Have a great day.
Take care.